Hey, sup YouTube, today I have a tiny Tina Wonderlands build video with you guys. And for this one, we have ChuckFuse. This build is a Fearnot focused build where we are using sporefuse in combination with Brrzerker great formula in order to do ton of damage with Fearnot Chuck. Now this build is very powerful, as you can see from the intro. It is also very interesting because it is making use of a lesser known weapon, which is the Fearnot Chuck. Often when you are talking about Fearnot, you often talk about like the Pixies with spell damage, but no, we are going full on gun damage Chuck here to retain the authentic Wonderlands chucking experience in Wonderlands. Before the video starts, though, remember to like, share, sub to the channel if you haven't done that already. Comment down below on what you think about the video. Join the Discord server if you want to get the save file or just want to have a chat with me. With that being said though, let's get into the gear breakdown. For the guns that we are using for damage, there are a lot of options here. There are some Fearnot SMG, some Fearnot shotgun, but the strongest weapon type you should be using is a pistol. I don't know why, but pistol just kinda out damage even shotgun chuck. Pistol chuck just kinda do a lot more damage than shotgun chuck for some reason. Maybe because it gets a bolt multiplier, which is huge for its damage output. The main weapon type that you would want to use for this build is pistol. But what type pistol exactly? Well, there are many types of chucking in this game. They are like, this one is a true weapon bounce while shooting at the enemy. So basically it is like the spider chuck in BL3, but now it has wing and still shoot enemy. This is based on your max size, fire rate and damage. So it can be nice for mobbing situation and even in bossing situation. Another type of chuck is one that creates a dagger storm. This is unique to Wonderlands, and the dagger storm doesn't do melee damage, it do gun damage, so you won't be able to proc stuff like alchemical agent on this, so it is purely gun. There is also the lightning bow that chain to nearby enemy chuck. It is very powerful, do ton of damage. I think it is the best single target damage dealer. Not necessarily the best DPS for this build though. It would be the dagger storm. For the lightning bow, you would want to get a non-elemental one because the chuck will produce a electric lightning bow, despite the fact that it is non-elemental. So you get the benefit of having an elemental damage type and also higher damage card because non-elemental doesn't get the elemental penalty. I would agree it is the best weapon to get for this build and the whole point of this build, but it isn't that great like in bossing situation. I mean, it is still doable, but just not the optimal choice. For bossing, I would go for the Dagger Storm or the weapon bounce while shooting at enemies. There are also gun wings, which is basically another version of the weapon bounce, but the gun wing is actually capped, so it do a lot less damage. Oh, by the way, when throwing the type of gun wing weapon bouncing stuff, you should be careful of aura effects that do damage because it can actually kill the gun wing, make them disappear. So for example, you shouldn't be throwing it near Banshee, for example, because she had a damage aura which can kill the gun wings. You can also use Pixie in this, but I don't really recommend it because it's just too broken. This will be included into the Dark Write-up, which I hope will be up after this video is out. But you can use it, it is very broken. On this build, obviously, it Pixies. But you have to be careful and pick the right type of Fearnot to chuck, because the Fearnot one actually do spell damage, so it won't proc sporefuse. But the whatnot, the one that I'm showcasing here, the one that doesn't put out damage, cross both do gun damage. So if you want to use Pixie, remember to look for whatnot, not a Fearnot. You can also use Hydra Companion, which isn't that great, but like the Hydra Companion have a nice chance of putting out ammo, which can be nice for this build. I would want to go into another weapon type, but honestly it isn't worth it. This weapon you should only be used at the last resort when your pistol ammo reserve is out. This can be nice in some mobbing situation, and if you have enough gear it can do bosses, but only use them if you ran out of pistol ammo. Otherwise it isn't worth it. And for the A10, the only A10 that you must have in order to play this build. Easy Sporewarden Sporefuse in 10, which say for 10 seconds after activating Barrage, gun damage has 25% chance to cause an explosion, dealing 30% of the damage dealt as poison damage to nearby enemies. That is insane because it is a double dip. It is double dipping your splash damage, your global damage, your all damage, your conditional damage, debuff, all that good stuff. If your gun doesn't have it enchant or you can reroll it, it isn't worth it to use it in the build, unfortunately. For the melee weapon, I'm only using the peg leg because it provides reload speed, which is real nice, but generally you can use any melee weapon that you seem fit. So heal mod you would want to get on this is Echo, which can be nice to finish our bosses with, or even Vampire for some survivability. The shield we are using either the Cursed Wit or the Boy Rune. The Cursed Wit is for 100% of conditional damage, it can be nice, and it get double dip by sporefuse. Try to get the reload, gain a charge barrage on your shield, very important for sporefuse. We are also using a Boy Rune for some survivability and fire damage. For the amulet, we are using you want to look for a Brrzerker power 1. Sporewarden power doesn't buff sporefuse as far as I'm concerned, so Brrzerker power is the one to go. It would buff your bonus cryo damage, which means more icebreaker. For the element, look for one that fit weapon element the most, or just poison in general for sporefuse. For the passive, look for gun reload speed or damage dealt. Do not take magazine size. It isn't necessary and it will only drain your ammo reserve faster, so avoid any type of gun magazine increase. I'm using a sacrificial skip here for some survivability. It can be nice for 5 fragilized situation. I'm also using Bubble Load, which is another tool for double dip. For the armor, I'm using a Sporewarden power, Brrzerker power 1 with as much point into Wrath of Nature as possible. This, in my opinion, is the best one for this build because you are able to activate it more easily, and this Wrath of Nature skill here is a pure mode and get double dip, so it is very insane. For the passive, look for gun damage, boom speed, if you are using the selective amnesia for more all damage and error damage. Other armor you can also use Brrzerker main and Sporewarden second armor that give 3 points to icebreaker, that can be nice too. But sometimes just farming for selective amnesia with decent stat is good enough for this build. For this spell, we are mainly using this tiebreaker in order to apply soak to enemies. That is if you are using frost and lightning weapon, and we will be using that a lot because we are mainly using the lightning bolts chaining to enemies. So this can come in useful, but you can use any spell that can apply icebreaker to enemy easily, so that include cryo, arcane bolts, but note that you would not want to use the sigil. Why? Because the sigil sometimes can block your chucking, especially your lightning bolt chucking, and explode on you, end up killing you, and doesn't do any damage. So it is very detrimental to use the sigil in this build, even though it can apply icebreaker very effectively. So do not use the sigil in this build. For the rings, you notice here I do not include the Fearnot Oath. Honestly, it isn't worth it. The farm for it is very hard and it can sometimes roll for magazine size, and that can be detrimental to your build. So the Fearnot Oath isn't really necessary here, so I'm opting for the Shark Brain because it gives a lot into gun damage. And for the passive, you would want to get pistol reload speed, any gun type like shotgun, SMG, pistol crit damage. Avoid magazine size because that will drain your ammo reserve. To the skill tree, we are starting with 5 points into Kindred Heart. This is for our specifiability, and sometimes if we are using the Hydra Companion Chuck, this buff it too. But mainly for our pet survivability, which means more medicinal mushroom, which means it can revive us more often, and Spore Cloud to taunt enemy. Eagle Eye for some gun damage. Bullseye for a minimal increase to our crit hit chance. Honestly, this 5 point can be used into Bounty of the Hunt, but it just isn't necessary, or affinity we aren't doing any ability damage, or ability damage isn't the main point of this build, so you can put it here, but I prefer bullseye. Do not put any point into quiver holding. Not only it increases magazine size, which is already detrimental. Again, you don't need magazine size. The damage is enough and you will only be draining your ammo reserve. But the ammo regen is even more detrimental. It can disrupt the reload flow gameplay. You can be annoying. 3.2 Green Runner for movement speed and fire rate. And 3.2 Wrath of Nature for some nice pure modes to our damage. We also get double dip by sporefuse, and we are able to apply it pretty consistently because of barrage. Moving on to the Brrzerker skill tree, we are putting 2.2 Savagery for enraged duration, 3.2 Unyielding for more health regen, which means more survivability, 3.2 Icebreaker is another nice mode to our damage, get double dip by sporefuse. And you can use a weapon like the Last Rite to freeze enemy and get Icebreaker that way, or use your spell. Instinct is for reload speed, which can be nice for chucking. Cold Snap for more frost efficiency, which means we are freezing enemy faster, which means Icebreaker. And the movement speed cannot be nice for selective amnesia. An armor defense, very strong skill. Basically allow us to break the curse switch easier and provide a ton of survivability. Blood Frenzy for some health restoration. Ancient Fury for max health, and aerial damage, which is insane for this build. It is getting double dip by sporefuse if you are using a splat chuck that day, and it is even more valuable if you can not get it on your armor. 1.2 Relentless Stretch is so that we can get out of Seiyosho easier. For the hero stat, we are maxing out strength and constitution. The rest of the point can go into intelligence, and we are using the villager idiot background. For the playstyle this build, for mobbing, you just want to chuck your weapon, do ton damage, be careful with your ammo reserve because they can run out very quickly if you play this build recklessly. For bossing, you'd want to first apply Last Rite to the boss first in order to get Icebreakers, then apply Type Breaker for soak, and try to stay close to the enemy to get more curse quit, and you do a lot of damage. So that is it. Hope you find this video useful. If you did, remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. Comment down below on what you think. Join the Discord server, and see you guys next time.